Welcome to the Shootin' Show. Stand by for shots fired.
Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show, and welcome to today's program. I have another Johnny here that's with me. Is going to be helping out on the program a little today, and we're certainly glad to have him. Friends, the health club has taken off like a shot, and we really do appreciate all your interest in it. We do have people returning your calls, and they're getting to folks just as quickly as they can. So let's definitely keep that up. If you want to feel better and just enjoy life so much more from feeling so much better, well, please call us on the health club line. Well, friends, we're going to start today's program off. Yes, it's warm out here. We've got a thunderstorm way off there in the east, but it's dry right where we are, sort of. It's only about 110 degrees. What do you think, Johnny? Here today. It's still a nice day to be out shooting. Well, Johnny, you want to start our program off today?
Yes, sir.
You know, this Colt Sporter is a very fine varmint gun, very fine home defense gun. Now, friends, this is so important because Johnny here is 12. He'll soon be 13. But it's so important that we get these kids out here on the range. And see, he's not going to handle a gun unsafely. He's not going to do it because he's been taught to respect whether it's a handgun or a long gun or whatever else. And this is so important. These children are our future as shooters, and if we don't get out here and spend some time with them and teach them how to properly handle and use these firearms, well, you have what you have in some of the big cities today. You've got chaos and children running around with guns that are shooting each other, and a lot of terrible things happening. So they have to be taught. The good news is they can be taught. They can be taught to properly use these firearms, and children can be taught responsibility. So let's get another shooting show underway. Well, Johnny, I'm going to go ahead and load the gun for you. It's on safe. Now then, Johnny, go ahead and put the gun to your shoulder. Find your target. You have an aperture sight. Now then, we'll push the safety off. Go ahead and shoot. Good. You know, friends, one of the most important things to do to properly teach a young person how to shoot or handle a firearm is to do it with a pellet gun. Now, there are a lot of good things you can do with a pellet gun. Even if you're an adult, what you can do is, a lot of us live in places where we can't go out outside because of our neighbors or city ordinances. We can't go out and shoot a gun. But you can build a pellet trap in your basement or in a bedroom or in a family room in the house somewhere, and if you're careful and you do it properly, well, you can actually shoot some of these guns indoors. And a good many people do that because now this is a Crosman gun built to be a replica of a Colt Python, and it is approximately the same size. Now, it's not quite as heavy as a Python because it's not all steel, but still the handling qualities are similar to what would be with a full-size revolver. And this is important because you can actually familiarize yourself and stay somewhat current for your main handgun with one of these. Crosman or Daisy here this is a Daisy Powerline, which is built very similar to a 45 government model. And it is approximately the same size. Now, again, it's not going to be as heavy, but you can familiarize yourself or your kids in showing them how these things work and proper gun handling. We, of course, have had conversations constantly when I get to see Johnny and his brothers. We talk about gun safety and how we don't point the muzzle, even of a pellet gun, at something that we can't afford to lose. Because you know what, friends, a pellet gun can take out an eye, or can severely damage an ear, or it could really hurt a child or anyone for that matter. Because some of these things with gas cylinders are pretty doggone powerful. You can certainly take rats or very small game. You can kill snakes with these guns. This is a cylinder gun, of course. It has a CO2 cylinder. All the ones we have here on the table today do have CO2 cylinders, and they're pretty powerful. The advantage a CO2 cylinder has is there's no cocking of the mechanism. There's nothing like that. You can shoot them just like you would a semi-automatic or a revolver. Now, we have a couple of other guns here. This is a gun from Crosman, which essentially is like a Ruger 1022. It is a very handy size, easy for a younger person to handle, And again, it's like the 1022 Ruger, so it makes the real gun familiar when you do get to it. You can start someone off. It has a clip type magazine that fits in the magazine well there. And these are very nice guns. Now there are of course all kinds. You have a cocking variety that's available. Most of us remember the old lever action Daisy BB guns, of course. This is a single shot, also by Crosman. We do appreciate them supplying these guns for testing on our show. And this is a little more serious gun. It has some pretty good adjustable sights. It is a single shot. You open the little bolt there and put in a pellet, and it's pretty potent. You can, if you have a problem with pigeons or something in a barn or something, I would think this would be a real good candidate for very small game or varmints like that. Well, one of the things we've done, you know, it's so important when, and yes, it's warm, and yeah, there's water running in my safety glasses. Now, even when shooting a pellet gun or a BB gun, it's a good idea. You certainly don't have to have hearing protection because you don't have that much noise. But it is a good idea to have safety glasses of some type, because there's always a chance that that pellet could ricochet back from whatever target. And it's just good practice to constantly think about using safety glasses whenever we're shooting any sort of gun. Now they'll also tell you that in the instruction manual, but it's just good safety policy. So anyway, what we've done, a very simple type arrangement. We have some cola cans and one of those plastic bottles out here hanging on wires from our target stand. And Johnny, let's go ahead and do a little shooting. Which one are you going to shoot first? You going to shoot your revolver or which one? Okay, well that's fine. Take your rifle. And see, when he will hit the can or the plastic bottle, well, it'll move, and you know you hit it. It makes a little plink there. It makes a sound, so it is more fun and interesting. All right, Johnny, go ahead and hit that can, please, sir. Safety off. Good. Good. Dead center. Go ahead and shoot the other. Shoot the other too. Good. Now, see what happens, friends? See, the can actually moves. There's a noise. And yeah, it is satisfying because you know you hit it, huh, John?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
go ahead and shoot him again. And the beauty part about having them on a string on the wire is good because it's not going to break. And even if it does, it's easy to put back. Just punch a little hole in the can, run the wire out through the top. A simple thing. And you can get spare clips for these guns, or this is probably more of a clip than it is a magazine. And you can go out and have a lot of fun for a long time. Take your handgun, sir. Give me this one. And go ahead and shoot in our safety zone here. Go ahead. Good. I think your gas is about out in your cylinder. Go ahead. Or you're hitting it. Go ahead. Whoops. And that's the only thing about your gas cylinder guns. You do have to watch the gas because they do get low. Typically, the gas cylinders are good for about 35 or so shots. Now friends, we did put another cylinder in, and they're not that expensive, certainly. And really, these guns, like this little Crosman, has a crossbolt safety here. It has a safety, of course, we don't normally find on revolvers. And these are very nice little guns to use and learn to use a handgun with. Now it comes with a couple of different clips here that just show them how the gun breaks open, son. See, and then you put your clip in right, just like so. Very, very simple and easily taught. Now they have 6-shot models and they have 10-shot models. So go ahead and shoot the can there, sir. Sir, please. Good. Good. You're doing fine. It's all right. Go ahead. There you go. Good. And yes, friends, it is fun. You can spend an afternoon doing this, and one, it's good for the kids and it's good for the adults too, because like we said earlier, you can teach the kids how to use these, kids and women, people that are not familiar with firearms. You can start them off on a pellet gun, and since there's no noise and no recoil, it starts off with a real good impression about guns. So the point I want to make with all this is This sort of thing is so important. These pellet guns are so important as familiarizing younger people and people who are not familiar with guns. Let them see what this is all about. And a pellet gun is an excellent way to do it. They're fairly inexpensive, certainly for what they are. Some of them are extremely accurate within their proper distances. And this is something that we highly recommend that you take a look at. Hey, is it fun or not?
Yes, sir.
All right. Pop that thing in. Go ahead. Well, you know, Jerry, that's a heavy plate.
That is a heavy plate.
And a 22 long rifle bullet is a small bullet.
Yeah.
But you know, we've got a little bug here going on.
We're in the country.
We're in the country, that's right. But you know, that's an example of if something is not obvious at first, just keep pecking away at it, just keep hitting away, keep tapping away, keep working and working, and you can make some pretty amazing things happen. That's a big steel plate, and that little 22 bullet, you just keep on doing. And you know, that's like our health program. If you consistently take these products, you're going to feel 20, 25, 30 years younger if you're a middle-aged person like some of us.
Yeah.
But it is absolutely wonderful, friends. We're hearing from people who have started on the program, and we're getting amazing testimony.
We really are. I think about one elderly lady that says that she went out and she never has been able to cut her yard for years. Went out and cut her yard, went over and cut the neighbor's yard, which was her daddy who had passed away. But she said, I still had energy left. And this lady is just going up in years. It's exciting because we're seeing such a turnaround in the way that people feel. I know myself, I am feeling, I'd say 20 years young.
Well, you know, friends, of all the information, some of you have been watching this show for 5 years now, and you know that we have never tried to misrepresent anything. We've always tried to tell you 100% of the absolute best truth we knew, because certainly our reputation is on the line with any product that you happen to see on this program that we recommend. Well, this is the easiest one, probably in my imagination, the easiest recommendation that we've ever had to give, because this is such an exciting thing. It's going to help so many people.
That's true. You know, Johnny, one of the things I like to think about is that we're trying to keep y'all informed, because what you don't know can hurt you.
Good point.
It really is. And so we know that if we get you this literature, we get you to using the products, you're going to see a difference, or you got a money-back guarantee.
That's true. You know, when we talk about reloading, a lot of us out there know the basics on reloading. They know how important the proper powder is, the proper powder charge is. Well, friends, it's the same thing for our physical body. Now, let me tell you what, it's going to, one, make you feel better. Heck, it's going to make you, what I've seen, it's made me mentally sharper. I remember things better.
Really, you will.
You know, I've been absent-minded for so long, but now I'm not as absent-minded as I was, because of the effect that it's had on my thinking process.
Well, you know, Johnny, 75% of your brain is water, but it needs to be the right kind of water, as well as it does all over your whole body. And that's what is so unique about what we're talking about, is the kind of water that your system really needs.
That's true. It replenishes
the proper kind of water.
Kind.
And we're actually going to raise the water level in your body back to what it was when you were a little kid. Remember, kids got a lot more energy than adults, and the reason is the level of the water and the kind of water they got. And we're able to flood our bodies with these youth-like water. You're going to feel better, you're going to have more energy, you're going to be more productive.
How many times have we heard people say, they'll have some kids playing around them and say, you know, if I could just have half their energy.
That's right. You can.
Friends,
You
how
can.
about that?
That's right.
You can have it.
That's right. That's good.
Call us, 1-800-895-7916. Health Club information, 1-800-895-7916, friends. Give us your name, address, we'll get some information to you. You'll get a call back from Jerry and his staff. Please, friends, don't delay. This is so important for every last one of us.
Let me clarify. You will get literature, a tape. Listen to that as soon as you get it, because then when we call, we'll both be on the same page, and we can be able to communicate and help you to get lined out to feeling better.
Let's do it, friends.
Friends, for information on the Shootin' Show Health Club, give us a call, 1-800-895-7916. Leave your phone number, your address. We'll have someone get back to you immediately. Again, the Shootin' Show Health Club, 1-800-895-7916. Friends, let's do it today.
Stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after these important messages.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Friends, a while back we had the Thompson Center Scout carbine on our program, and a lot of you commented that it looks very much like a Winchester Model 94, one of the lever action Western type 30-30s, and that's true. It does have a very similar size and similar way it's put together. Of course, it doesn't have a lever, it's a single shot. Well, also Thompson Center sent us the matching pistol to the Scout carbine, and that's what this is called, is a Scout pistol. And it has some of the same features, of course, that the carbine does. In fact, this is one of the most powerful handguns, period. You can have loads in this gun that will equal the best 44 Magnum loads, maybe even a little hotter. It does have the equalizing ports on the back, and this is something we're going to try and get on the program next week if at all possible. We've run out of time today as far as shooting in the field because, yes, the storm is right there, and we're going to go on in and head for the studio. But this gun does have very fine adjustable sights. In fact, let's take a closer look at it briefly. Now, honestly, I don't know how many places in the country, we'll research this some in the next few days, how many places you can hunt with a black powder handgun. I really don't know. But this would certainly be good on deer size game. Probably this gun you could take elk. It really is a very nice package. We'll do some longer range accuracy testing, but we wanted to show it to you today. It comes with a little set here, a ball starter, a cleaning jag there, and of course this is the ramrod, of course, to load the gun. So I'm glad to see that Thompson Center has done so. This is sort of a unique concept, but one that I think that we're really going to enjoy. These guns are supposed to be extremely accurate. J.D. Jones likes these guns, and I'll tell you what, if J.D. likes it, you can carry it to the bank that it is a workable solution here. So anyway, we wanted to show this to you today, and we'll look forward to shooting.
You know, friends, all of us as shooting enthusiasts should be subscribing to Shotgun News, the trading post for anything that shoots. 3 big issues monthly with literally thousands and thousands of firearms bargains. Give them a call, 1-800-345-6923, a very inexpensive subscription price. Again, 1-800-345-6923. Subscribe today.
Well, friends, again, we hope you're enjoying our program today. We're certainly very pleased to be bringing it to you. You know, Judge, having these kids on the program, I think, is so important because, you know, you've said this many times, the children are, in fact, our future as shooters. Having young people, familiarizing them with the proper way to shoot and handle firearms. I think that is so important. Well, sir, you've got quite a bit of, have we had some excitement here? I mean, since our last editing date last week?
Well, I guess we have, Johnny. Our friend, Mr. Schwanbeck, up in Marcella, Arkansas, got hold of the report that I mentioned last time, the Justice Department report on the
Ruby Ridge,
Idaho. 500 and some odd pages of it. Somebody managed to get a copy of it, even though it hadn't been released, and put it on the internet, so he had it printed out. And here it is. Boy, it's a bunch. Look at that.
Is it detailed or what?
And I see in the paper that they're about to do a new investigation of it. The Justice Department doing a new one. In addition to that, Congress is going to do one. So maybe the whole facts with Ruby Ridge are going to come out. And incidentally, yesterday they started the hearings on Waco.
Mm-hmm.
And they were really interesting.
It's on C-SPAN.
It was on C-SPAN. And Johnny, I watched that for over 3 hours, probably 4 hours last night. I finally got to bed about 2 o'clock, and I hadn't finished it then. But there were some very interesting things on it. For example, a Mr. Reavis Revis has written a book called Ashes of Waco. Mm-hmm. It's just out. Another book is out, and I don't have the author's name. I thought I'd written it down. Armageddon at Waco. Mm-hmm. Both those people were witnesses before the House committee. And honest to goodness, I have never seen such stalling tactics as the Democrats on that committee pulled to try to keep the thing from even being discussed. Mm-hmm. It was one thing after another. They spent over an hour of their hearings just quibbling, absolutely quibbling.
Over nothing, just trying to delay. They can't stand it. Judge, a liberal can't admit they're wrong. They can't admit a mistake. They can't do it. I mean, they can't do it.
Well, they had some representatives on there that I sure wish somebody would run against.
Old Chucky Schumer.
Charles Schumer from Brooklyn. That's why I did find out he was from Brooklyn. I knew he was from New York somewhere, but it's Brooklyn.
Well, we have a good many viewers in New York, and we have some viewers in Brooklyn that we hear from. And look, folks, I mean, let's see if we can find us a candidate. I mean, I got a lot of room to talk here in Louisiana. We've got a governor, if you want to call him that, who was indicted 12 times last time he was in office. But
never has been convicted of anything.
Well, that's true. That's true. But maybe we could find somebody up there to run against this clown.
Well, we got some more. John Conyers, a Democrat from Michigan. Gene Taylor, a Democrat from Mississippi. And some gray-headed coot from, I'm fine when talking about gray hair. Some gray-headed coot from California. Fazio, I think his name is. Boy, somebody needs to run against him, too. The Department of Justice bill, not the Department of Justice, the Treasury Department financing bill passed yesterday by about 4 or 5 votes. It contained a $9 million increase in funding for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. The way they want to regulate ammonium nitrate, they're going to call it the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Fertilizer. But, and that brings up another real interesting question. Mr. Schwanbeck sent me a copy of a report that he had gotten hold of by an explosives expert, not the Brigadier General,
right.
Somebody else.
Somebody else.
And he went down in mathematically figures on what amount of ammonium nitrate with fuel oil would do this or that or something else. And he proved conclusively to me that there could not have been the damage done to that building with a car bomb of less than about 50,000 pounds. And even then, the pattern of destruction was wrong. And he was fussing about them having blown the building up before they had a chance to get in and check the columns.
And really find out what happened in the columns.
The columns, because there would be proof that the explosion was partly from inside.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what the general said, and some of these others saying that actually it could not have blown up the way just from a car bomb like that. It had to have some internal explosives already set, right? Or
well,
in addition to that,
Johnny, to back that up, while they were doing whatever they were doing there in the building, before they blew it up and cleared it, they suddenly got an alert that there was a bomb in the building, and they evacuated everybody, and they went in and found it. And nobody knows what that bomb was or where it was. Perhaps one that did not go off.
One that is. So that was actually found in the building.
That was actually found in the building. Now, you can expect that BATF isn't going to show it to anybody.
Oh my goodness, no.
In the Waco hearings, they won't even let the charred guns and so forth be X-rayed and looked at.
Well, you know, there's a lot of suspicion out there because a lot of people, you know, some of these federal agencies have lied time and time again, and a number of people have said, have suspicion that the government people modified those weapons after they got them, and nobody really knows because they didn't let anybody independent look at them.
Well, that was part of the quibbling. They spent at least 30 or 45 minutes quibbling because the NRA was going to pay for
having them examined,
for having them examined and X-rayed and so forth.
Right.
And I'm telling you, the hate, the actual hate that people like Chuck Schumer, Gene Taylor, John Conyers, Fazio, the actual hate that those people have for the NRA is unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
It's just unbelievable. I am amazed, for example, in the terrorism bill. I made the remark last week. I was a lot more worried about terrorism bill than I was worried about terrorists. And the people that voted against terrorism bill are kind of interesting. For example, Feingold, Representative Feingold, who is a ultra-liberal, voted against it. I think it's a heck of a situation when we've got to go to ultra-liberals to get support to protect rights that are written in black and white in the Constitution of the United States.
You know, Carrie, I think it's as important for you ladies to know how to use these firearms as it is for us men. But you know, there's something else. We can have firearms for defense of our homes and certainly for sport, but we also need information.
Yes, I agree. I think the New American Magazine is the best source of information available in this country.
Well, I would certainly agree. The New American Magazine is the truth and nothing but the truth. And friends, if you would like to know what is really going on in this country and around the world, if you want, in fact, the truth, well, you need to get the New American Magazine. So here's how to do it.
You can get the New American by calling 1-800-727-TRUE. And those numbers, of course, are 1-800-727-8783. The New American, $22 for a 6-month subscription. It comes twice a month.
Now, friends, with your new Shootin' Show subscription, they will also send you a free copy of what the United Nations is bringing to all of us. So this is very important. Subscribe today. You know, friends, in times like these, which indeed are strange times, we certainly need our firearms, but we also need the information about what's really going on. Order today.
You know, friends, it's rare in any field of manufacture that one particular company has a clear-cut advantage over the others. Well, in this case, it's Corbin Ammunition, Corbin Bullet Company, because they make the best handgun, long gun, and even some specialty caliber ammunition that's been real hard to get in the past. If you really want your handgun or rifle to perform at their absolute best, you need to find some Corbin ammunition. For information on where you can get Corbin, information on their product line, call them. Corbin Bullet Company, 1-800-626-7266. Again, give them a call. It's a free call, 1-800-626-7266. Trust me on this one. Corbin is the best there is. The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Well, Judge, as an initial impression, what do you think is going to come out of the Waco hearings as you see it so far?
Well, of course, they've had one day, and I probably watched half of that one day. of an 8-day set of hearings. I don't know what's going to come out of it. I think probably some truth has got to come out of it. They wasted a lot of time talking about a search warrant, about the Fourth Amendment, about whether the affidavit in support of the search warrant was appropriate, was proper, but they have not talked yet, although Mr. Revis, and the author of Armageddon at Waco talked about it. They were both excellent men. They were both investigators. They've both written books, and I'm going to get those books, Ashes of Waco and Armageddon at Waco. A Ray John, Jahn, the assistant U.S. attorney who prosecuted the survivors at Waco, was there, and he kept talking about how adequate everything was done and how wonderful everything was.
Well, of course.
And so forth. Of course, I wonder if somebody expected him to come up with something else.
Anything else.
They haven't yet explained methylene chloride, which is flammable. Methylene chloride being pumped into that building along with tear gas or CS gas. What's CS gas?
Well, it's CS, which is no longer legal for the, according to the Geneva Convention, for the military use. It takes an executive order now for CS gas to be used by the U.S. government. And somebody, Janet Reno and Clinton, I suppose, are the people who actually gave the go-ahead to use that CS gas, which it cannot be used by our own military, yet they use it on those kids down at Waco.
Well, they use it on our own citizens. That's the thing.
That's right.
That really aggravates me. They those hearings were very good, but they're truncated. They're shortened because of the amount of information they've got to go over. They've got 90-some witnesses subpoenaed, and Sherman was griping that some other Sherman and Fazio both were griping that some other witnesses weren't subpoenaed.
Well, your concern was nothing's come up about the military being involved with a law enforcement operation. The helicopters.
And it is apparent that the military was there first. The helicopters, there were witnesses there that definitely showed that the helicopters flew over the building before the ground troops got there.
And what did those helicopters? What were they supposed to do?
Well, there was testimony to the effect that the helicopters fired down at the building.
Into the building for no apparent reason. You know, I talked to one of the attorneys that had been in talking with Koresh out in Las Vegas, and they showed, and this man had no reason to lie to me or anybody else. He said that Koresh took him to holes in the floor and said, "Look up there, you'll see the matching hole in the roof, where there were bullets shot into that place from above. That had to come from helicopters."
Now, I think that there's an awful lot of obfuscation going on. They're talking about Koresh and Koresh's morals, and
well, that's really not the issue.
no, it's not the issue at all. And the federal government has absolutely no jurisdiction. The BATF has absolutely no authority or jurisdiction over such things as child abuse, or I don't know what else
he was accused of doing. However, and these things should be handled by the local authorities, and of course I understand they had been investigated a month or two before that and found no real problem. Now, none of us, now Koresh, honestly, I've been down to Waco, been out there that site, and according to what most of us feel as normal citizens, they qualified as a cult. I mean, Koresh was kind of a nut.
Well, now, wait a minute. What's a cult? What's a cult?
Well, now, something far, far out of the norm, but they didn't bother anybody.
That is an inflammatory word for a religious sect.
Okay.
And the word cult has been repeatedly picked up and used by the media in order to create prejudice toward the
Branch Davidians.
And there's no reason at all for us to carry on with that same nomenclature and help them with what they're doing.
Your objection is sustained, sir.
It was a religious group.
That's true. Which now
Unconventional. But I don't think we have to look back more than about 2,000 years to find a religious group that was considered to be highly
unconventional. And best man to ever live, they hung him on a cross. That's true. They killed the best man to ever live for a short time anyway. Well, like you're saying, they had no business, according to the facts, of going down there and assaulting those people like they did.
Well, it's inexcusable to go in there and set the place on fire. And of course, they tried to show that the Branch Davidians set it on fire themselves. But pumping CS gas in and pumping methylene chloride in
an inflammable mixture
in a place where there is fire, because
they had no electricity.
They were having to use candles
and kerosene lamps, I'm sure.
I don't know what they expected to do other than go up in flames. And the fact that it went up in flames almost all at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And then wouldn't let anybody else look at the, quote, evidence, close quote, that they picked up from the ruins, and then came in and bulldozed the whole thing over so you couldn't tell what the heck happened.
And Schumer and his bunch wonder why that a lot of Americans don't trust the government. And they wonder why. You know, and the Clinton regime wonders why that so many of us do not trust our government.
Well, you know, Schumer ought to be among the group that is least trustful of government, because people of his religious persuasion were persecuted by Hitler and almost wiped out as far as Europe was concerned. And the Jews for the Preservation of Firearms are a very militant group and very much on our side on this thing. And how Schumer happens to get himself on the other side, I don't know.
Oh, and we let's clarify that when you say militant group, militant as far as they really stand up for what they believe.
They're determined.
They're determined, yes. They're not militant, not with firearms, but certainly with what they believe.
Well, Sherman and Fazio and Conyers all seem to be a lot more interested
and
want to talk about the militias that nobody's tied anything into
Nothing
yet.
at all, yeah. Koresh wasn't a militia. None of those people were. So,
And of course, the Treasury Department Assistant Secretary of the Treasury said that this whole thing could not be properly understood without covering Oklahoma City at the same time. Well, of course, there's 2 years difference in it,
That's
number
all.
one. And number two, I think Oklahoma City ought to be investigated, and investigated very, very thoroughly.
I agree completely.
I don't see why we think, or why anybody thinks, that as long as there are people in the world that are doing what's being done in Bosnia now, and if you look at the TV pictures of that country, you think that Oklahoma City was a picnic
compared to Bosnia, what's going on there today.
And
the whole problem,
go on.
yeah, where the Bosnians are under an arms embargo, friends. There's a reason. And Margaret Thatcher said this on one of these Sunday morning news programs. Why don't you let the Bosnians have arms? Friends, those Bosnians are fighting with stuff that they've had to scrounge and salvage and steal. Because wound up, the Serbians had all the weapons. When the communist regime collapsed, the Serbians had all the guns. And so it's a wonder the Bosnians have been able to hold out at all. And yet, the Europeans and your man in Washington will not turn loose arms sales to the Bosnians. They won't do it.
Johnny, he's your man in Washington, not mine.
Excuse me, I said somebody. Anyway, it's an embarrassment up there. But see, friends, that's why there's so much trouble, because the Bosnians cannot defend themselves. That's what has made it so difficult.
Well, more on the hearings in...
oh, yes, we lost Larry Potts. Is no longer, those of you may have already heard this, Larry Potts, who was promoted to number 2 man at the FBI, has been removed. I find that is rather exciting.
Demoted and removed as number 2 man, and he was the one in charge of Ruby Ridge and
Waco.
And I think, if not in charge, certainly high up in Waco.
So, it's starting to make waves. I mean, this stuff is starting to make waves, and what we have to do is just keep on, huh?
Well, all they need to do, all we need to find out now, is that there's been another bombing like Oklahoma City in an effort to derail these hearings, and I think that the pattern will be clear. Oh, Mr. Schwanbeck, thank you for the printout of the report, and particularly thank you for the explosives expert analysis of, it's about a 5-page analysis, including mathematical formulas.
Which you would understand, absolutely.
Well, I understand them all right. I didn't work through them, but I understand what he's talking about. And I appreciate receiving that report, and I appreciate the other people in our viewing audience who occasionally write notes to me or send things to me. I get the newspapers from Boise, Idaho, because my daughter lives up there, and she's been properly educated. And there's more in the Idaho newspapers than there is down here.
Right.
And she happens to be in Helen Chinowitz's district, and I can tell you, Helen Chinowitz got two new votes when they moved up there.
We really need to get Helen Chenoweth on this program. We'll try and do that. Well, friends, just hold on. We've got a lot of ground to cover. You know, it's important that we have a reliable gun, but you know what else? It's also important that we have a reliable and sharp knife. Now, we have discovered one of the neatest things, and we have a little knife sharpener here. This is called a Pocket Pal. It has some little tungsten carbide inserts right here. And friends, let me tell you what, this thing will sharpen a knife like crazy. You can always have it with you because it has a little hole here to go on a keychain. You just slip it in your pocket. It's very thin and flat, but it does the same job as a much larger knife sharpener. So let me show you how it works. And let me also remind you that if you're a bow hunter, you can sharpen broadheads down to a razor sharp cutting edge with this little Pocket Pal. So all you have to do, and take a look at this, we'll got our buck knife here, and all you have to do is put it on a surface like so, and it needs to be a firm surface, and probably be better off the edge of this, but we'll show you how it works, and just pull the blade through the carbide inserts. And the first couple of times you can feel it drag there, you can feel it literally sharpening that metal. A couple of times with a little force, and then 7 or 8 times just lightly across, just like so. 7 or 8 times or so. And friends, let me tell you what, this jewel will shave after coming across on the little Pocket Pal here. Now then, this is available through us here at the program, the Pocket Pal. Call Bobby or Al at our 800 number, 1-800-SAVE-YOU-GUN, 1-800-728-8486, and we're pricing this at $7.95 plus shipping and handling. So this is, again, one of the neatest little things to come through here. This little Pocket Pal knife sharpener, $7.95. Call Bobby or Al, 1-800-SAVE-YOU-GUN, 1-800-728-8486 for the Pocket Pal. Friends, for information on the Shootin' Show Health Club, give us a call, 1-800-895-7916. Leave your phone number, your address. We'll have someone get back to you immediately. Again, the Shootin' Show Health Club, 1-800-895-7916. Friends, let's do it today. Now, friends, how would you like to have a boat that you could literally carry around in the trunk of your car? Well, that's possible now with the new briefcase boat. This has a tremendous amount of utility. You can stop on the side of the road and go duck hunting in a pond or in a small stream or a lake, whatever. You can even put a small trolling motor on it. It has a duck blind type situation that goes over it in camouflage. Really such a neat setup. Now, this is available through us here at the program. It's $495 plus shipping and handling. Call us, 1-800-SAVE-YOU-GUN, 728-8486. Talk to Al or Bobby about it. They'll be glad to talk to you. The briefcase boat. Call today. The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station. And now, friends, here's our good friend, Lieutenant Colonel Art Alphin, formerly of West Point, who's going to give us some information on breech loading versus muzzle loading guns.
This painting graphically illustrates the point that for all its strengths, the .58 caliber rifled musket did not have a volume of fire that was compatible with its accuracy. If soldiers were extended in any sort of skirmish line, their massed volume of fire was so low that they might well be overrun. This problem could in some measure be solved with a breech-loading weapon. The U.S. Indian Wars provide some perfect examples of the changes wrought by the breech loader when it replaced the muzzle-loading rifled musket. It would perhaps be profitable to start with the war between the states. Many historians are prone to criticize the decision-makers in the war between the states as being stupid. The historians say that machine guns and repeating rifles were available. Anyone should have seen their superiority and should have adopted them immediately. Such historians are technical illiterates. The weapons of the war between the states were 19th century weapons and were in no way equivalent to anything we conceive of in the 20th century. For example, to characterize a Gatling gun as a machine gun is the grossest possible twisting of the term. The same is true of the breech-loading and repeating rifles and carbines of the war between the states era. Though they had a greater volume of fire than the rifled musket, those breech loaders and repeaters that did actually work, and there were few of those, suffered severe limitations in combat range. Further, at any one time, there were at least 15 or 20 competing designs of breech loaders and repeaters being shown to the Army. Each one was totally different in design and function and took a completely different type and caliber of ammunition. However, each one had at least one salesman who could put on a demonstration proving his to be better than the others. Normally that salesman had more than a little political clout from some fellow in Congress. Regardless of what the salesman showed, cartridge cases and rifle designs were in their infancy and were not up to the claims made for them. When issued in the field, breech loaders like the Joslin were discarded immediately, for they were not worth carrying. Lastly, you should understand that the manufacturing plants, though much better in the North than in the South, were still not capable of producing breech loaders or repeaters in the necessary millions of copies, nor ammunition for them in the required billions of rounds. Given these limitations in manufacturing, the short combat range, the technical infancy and unreliability of the breech loaders and the cartridge cases, there were very good reasons for retaining the .58 caliber rifled musket as the primary shoulder weapon during the war. By 1866, however, things were changing. The attention that the war focused on the problem of breech loaders began to result in some very sound designs. Further, cartridge cases were rapidly improving, and the industrial capacity of the North found that post-war demand was more in line with what they could produce. Into this arena stepped Mr. Erskine Allen, a toolmaker at the Springfield Armory. He patented and showed to the Army his method of converting the Springfield rifled musket into a breech loader. His basic idea was to cut out the breech area of the rifled musket. The resulting trough was filled with a breech block that pivoted upwards like a trap door. After discharge, the hammer was cocked, the lock released, and the breech raised. This extracted and ejected the old cartridge. The shooter then thumbed a new cartridge into the chamber, closed the breech, and was ready to fire. The first Allen conversion was chambered for a metallic cartridge which roughly duplicated the ballistics of the .58 caliber rifled musket. By 1866, his second model conversion, which included relining the barrel to accept a .50 caliber center fire cartridge, was deemed suitable for general military use. I should emphasize here that none of this was possible without a practical center fire cartridge case. The case held powder, bullet, and primer in one package. The cartridge case also served double duty by expanding against the chamber on discharge and sealing the powder gases in the barrel. This cartridge case is critical. The breech loader held the cartridge case, and the case sealed the gases. Back to Mr. Allen's rifle. It was adopted in July of 1866 and put into immediate production. By January of 1867, the first shipments of these rifles were on their way west. These rifles arrived on the frontier none too soon. Serious social discussions with the Sioux Indians were reaching a fever pitch along the Bozeman Trail in Wyoming and Montana during the period 1866 and 67. The Fetterman Massacre had just occurred, and the Army, with its post-war reductions in manpower, was having trouble holding on. The two major forts in the area, Fort Phil Kearny and Fort C.F. Smith, were adequately garrisoned and suffered no major risk of being directly overrun, but their wood-cutting and hay and water-gathering parties were in considerable danger. When confronted with isolated parties of whites, Indian tactics were simple. They attempted to close the range as much as possible, preferably by ruse or surprise. When it was time to join battle, they normally had one or two warriors expose themselves as firing dummies. As soon as the first volley was fired by the whites, the remaining Indians would charge pell-mell, knowing that at worst, the whites with muzzle loaders could fire one more volley before being overrun. In August of 1867, the Indians tried this at a hayfield outside Fort C.F. Smith and in a wood-cutting area outside Fort Phil Kearny. In both cases, they met with a large surprise as they suffered volley after volley in rapid succession. A comparison of what they expected and what they got looks like this. Let's go to the chart. We list the combat range of the breech loader as being slightly better than the rifled musket because of the breech loader's higher velocity and better ballistic coefficient. Its volume of fire is easily double that of the rifled musket. As the range decreased and the need for adjusting sights or attaining a good sight picture consequently decreased, a good soldier with a breech loader could increase this rate of fire. It was not uncommon at close ranges for a breech loader to put out 9 or even 10 rounds a minute. This increase in volume is such that it paid the soldier to manipulate his weapon and continue to fire as the enemy closed, rather than give up firing and fix bayonets for a final contest. Our example pointed this out well. The breech loader had gotten off 7 rounds in the same period that the muzzle loader had fired 2 and was midway through the loading cycle of his third round. The breech loader could continue to fire while the soldier armed with the muzzle loader had no choice but to fix bayonets. Erskine Allen's design would go through many modifications. Starting in 1873, it would be newly manufactured in .45-70 caliber as the model 1873 Springfield. All told, over 650,000 Allen rifles would be made. Erskine Allen won the wagon box fight and helped open the trails west.
You know, friends, this box of Corbin ammunition and this Wesson 41 Magnum are in fact a perfect match for each other. But it doesn't matter whatever gun you may have, like this SKS or a hunting rifle or a 38 Special or a 9mm, makes no difference, because Corbin is absolutely the best factory ammunition that money can buy, period. And also, friends, when you see a box of Corbin on the shelf or you give them a call, realize that Corbin is helping keep the shooting show on the air. They've been one of our most dedicated sponsors. You cannot find finer people in the entire shooting industry. For information on Corbin ammunition, call them 1-800-626-7266. Again, 1-800-626-7266. Tell them you saw it on the Shooting Show.
Friends, for information on the Shootin' Show Health Club, give us a call, 1-800-895-7916. Leave your phone number, your address. We'll have someone get back to you immediately. Again, the Shootin' Show Health Club, 1-800-895-7916. Friends, let's do it today. If you would like to advertise on the Shootin' Show, you can call us at 1-800-SAVE-YOUR-GUN. That's 1-800-728-8486. Our staff will be very happy to talk to you.
For more information on the Firearms Training Institute, please call 318-861-7534 or 318-949-4322.